It's seriously been an entire year already?
Cool.
Yeah, so who would have figured a year ago when I sat down to record myself playing HoloCure while talking about the new Goosebumps show that I'd still be doing this an entire year later? I mean, I'll admit I kind of hoped I was going to be, but I actually expected myself to give up long before now. But hey, for better or worse, we're still here. And in celebration of that fact, as well as the fact that my birthday falls within this upload cycle, and I don't really want to spend both my birthday and the last week of October editing videos, I figured I would just sit down on camera and we can, at long last, have an extended face-to-face chat. Sound good? So realistically, there is every chance that this video is going to be a complete disaster because I haven't done something truly off the cuff like this, where I'm just putting in very little edits and just speaking as a freeform thoughts, since probably the video I made on the Energon universe, which I hope you've all been reading because those are some of the best comics to have come out in recent years. But what I want to talk about today is just my thoughts after being on this platform for an entire year. I've actually been on the platform longer, but I haven't seriously devoted myself to making videos until the last year. Yes, hello Sylvester, that is our crybaby cat that just made himself known on camera. Okay, so that was our first major cut for the video. I went ahead and fed the cat so that hopefully he won't interrupt again. But yeah, no, one whole year on YouTube. Because of that, I wanted to sit down and just sort of like go through some of my thoughts that I have about having done this for an entire year. So I've got my slate of videos pulled up here on my tablet just to sort of like run through some thoughts on them. But first, I want to talk about a couple of the lessons that I have learned doing this for a year now. And the first lesson, which I think is the most important thing, especially to anybody out there who wants to do this for themselves, and that's that you really probably have everything you need already if you want to start a YouTube channel. If you have an iPhone, especially, that's literally it. Like, you've got your camera, you've got your microphone. Alex Kister made the entire Mandela catalog on his iPhone, and that's like one of the most highly regarded analog horror series on YouTube. So, I mean, like, it's kind of amazing the world we live in now. If you don't have an iPhone, it's not really that much harder, and you probably still have everything you need. I'm recording this right now on an old Galaxy S9, which is why the camera quality is not the best, but it's completely serviceable. And the microphone's great as well, for what it is anyways. But if you've got a smartphone and you've got a computer, you are pretty much set. And that's the thing that really got me going. I think for a lot of people, what they assume is that the biggest hurdle is the editing software that you use. But as it turns out, there's a wonderful thing in today's modern world called DaVinci Resolve, which is the software that I use to edit my videos. It is completely free and it is super user-friendly. I absolutely love it. Like, the first couple of videos I made on this channel several years back, which I count as like the proto-pointless era, those were edited using Sony Vegas, and that was a nightmare to use. Resolve is so much better, and it's completely free. So if you've been thinking of starting a YouTube channel, literally all you need is a phone and Sony Vegas. Sony Vegas. Literally all you need is your phone and DaVinci Resolve. And I plan to try and appear on camera more often in the future. Sorry. So in the next year, I'm planning to upgrade some aspects of my setup. So look forward to that. But really, that is all you need. Like, I use my phone. I have a cheap blue snowball. I think it was like less than $100, and that's what I use for audio. And I cheat a little bit because one of the big first upgrades that I bought after doing this was Isotope RX10, I think is what it's called, and that's a software suite that you can get for your computer that will process your audio files and take out like the clicks and the background noise and stuff like that. It's almost like magic, honestly. Because one of the big problems that I found when I was starting to record is that I make a lot of mouth sounds because I am not a very hydrated person. In fact, let's all stop right now and take a hydration break. Isotope RX10, if you can afford it, it's a bit pricey, but it will really, really help with the quality of your audio. And like right now, I'm recording this with the microphone on my phone, and I am definitely throwing that into Isotope to repair it. Now, the next lesson that I learned is definitely a more difficult one, but I think it's important that anybody who wants to make YouTube videos knows this lesson going in, because it really sucks. And that is that there is almost always zero correlation between the amount of work you put into a video and the reception that that video gets. Looking over my roster of videos, some of them have definitely had more effort put into them than others. But I think the one that really still gets to me as having like the most heartbreaking amount of effort I put into it versus the reception it got would be my video on Sucker for Love, and it's just playing an ad now. Sucker for Love: A Date to Die For was probably my favorite game that came out this year, and I mean, that's in a year of strong contenders. But I absolutely love that game, so much so that I completed it like the weekend it came out, and immediately jumped into making a video discussing like why I loved it so much. And I put a lot of effort into that. That was like my first really like review slash essay. I don't really know what you call it, but like something that I really wanted to try and make an impact with. And it's currently sitting at 368 views, having been up for 4 months. And that's just the breaks. Like, genuinely, like, that's something you have to know going in. Like, you cannot control. I mean, you cannot directly control how many people are going to click on your videos, and you have to be able to accept that. Because I would say I put more work into the Sucker for Love video than I did into what I can now say is easily the most successful thing I have ever created. That being the reason most of you are probably here, which is the video on how much I love Beyblade X and why I started playing it as an adult. That's currently sitting at 171,000 views. And I didn't put zero effort into that. In fact, I was sitting on that idea for a long time because I started coming up with the idea for it when me and my friends were still importing the Japanese ones, and we weren't sure when the English release was going to happen. And I sort of told myself that the moment the English product drops in America, I would make a video to try and get people into it. And I did, and the reception to that was honestly so much greater than I could have ever imagined. Like, it's literally what took me from being unmonetized on my channel to being able to monetize my videos. And, those of you who do watch the ads, I really appreciate that. Like, I've made like less than $300 to date off of this channel. So like, I'm not content farming anybody, but it's been nice to just have any sort of like, tangible sense that there is a tangible reward for anything that I've done. And that's a big thing, is like, you have to be doing this because you want to do it. Like, obviously nobody uploads a video to YouTube in the style that I've been doing without hoping that they're going to make it, obviously. And I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I think you deserve that. Like, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of this camera right now if I did not eventually want to be able to make videos for a living. Like, ultimately, my dream is to be able to make high quality, like, video essay type content on the silly sort of things that I do. Hydration check again. And I think that's another important lesson that I have sort of learned, and doing this for a year, is that you are setting yourself up for a very difficult path if you do not have a consistent theme for your uploads. So when I say that, like, my good friend Jet, who I've mentioned before, I'm going to continue mentioning on this channel because he's kind of like my senpai when it comes to YouTube, which is hilarious because I'm so much older than him. Obviously, he got his start doing Bakugan videos, and he made a very difficult transition to being more of a general, like, toy review channel. And he's told me it's been difficult to sort of, like, lead people along for that transition, but I genuinely think he's making some of the best content on that side of YouTube for the kind of content that he covers. Like, his videos are genuinely thoughtful and like, provoke emotion, and he's talking about stuff like Optimus Prime. And I love him for that. Like, I genuinely... he's one of those gold standards that I hold myself to, that I would eventually like to be able to create the kind of content like he does. But I chose a more difficult path. And the views definitely reflect it. Like, some of the videos I've made that have gotten the biggest reception, like the Beyblade one and the video on Pokemon vs. Pal World, attracted some comments saying like, oh, hey, this is great. I would love to see more Pokemon content from you, or more Beyblade content. And I do think that obviously, like, if I latched onto that and really kept going in that direction, there might be more of a return in that regard. And obviously, like, people will say, oh, well, that's the Beyblade guy, or that's the Pokemon guy. And that's a perfectly valid path to take, but it's not what I want for my channel, because I have, I guess, hobby ADHD is what I call it, in addition to my genuine ADHD, where I latch onto things that really keep my interest for X amount of time before moving on to the next thing. And it's not really like I lose interest in those things, but I don't think there's any one topic that I love so much that I would want to churn out YouTube content for it for God knows how long. And I think if you look at my uploads, tabletop games in general, and I do throw Beyblade in there, are a consistent hobby. So in that sense, I think tabletop games and comics are some of the things I've talked about most on this channel, but I wouldn't really say I'm a tabletop channel or a comic channel. Ultimately, what I want to sell people on through my content is myself. I think I'm entertaining, and I'm hoping that anybody who subscribes to the channel is subscribing because they find me entertaining. And if that's the case, I mean, thank you. Please let me know in the comments, because I mean, I love you all. But in the vein of not wanting to have any, like, one topic that I talk about on this channel, that's another hard lesson I had to learn. The lesson that if you're doing what I'm doing, and I mean, not even if you're doing what I'm doing, I feel like a lot of people have probably had to deal with this, momentum is something I expected to exist. And it really, I wouldn't say consistent momentum is a thing, at least not in how I expected. So my Beyblade X video, as I said, got 171,000 views. Now, obviously, that's as of today. But it definitely was like the biggest thing on my channel, even like by the time I made my next video. I think at the time that I uploaded my first video after the Beyblade X video, the Beyblade X video was probably sitting at like 30-something thousand views. And right now, that next video has 1.7 thousand views after 3 months. That would be the video I made on horror comics, which, hey, you should read, because I'm really passionate about the comics that I talked about in that video, and I think all 3 of them are something that everybody should read. And the video after that, the 2 videos that I made after that, actually, are both sitting at the same amount of views, which are the video I made on why shopping sort of feels unnecessary, which are not unnecessary, why shopping feels unsatisfying these days, which I figured was like sort of a broad appeal topic. Like, it's the kind of thing that I would have probably clicked on had it come up in my recommendations. And I thought it would have that same sort of effect for people, but I guess not. And then the video I made on Ultraman, which is something that was a lot more personal to me, because I really became a fan of Ultraman this year after not really getting it, I would say, for the longest time. And so I wanted to make that video to show people, like, no, if you're like me and like look at Ultraman and think like, okay, why do people like this? Here's what makes Ultraman awesome. Here's what got me into it. And especially, like, if you're watching this now, the current season of Ultraman Arc, is airing officially on YouTube for free every week, and you should be watching. It's a great show. But those 2 videos are both sitting at 274 views each right now. And man, coming off of the Beyblade video and just watching the slow decline in views, that sucked. That genuinely sucks. It still sucks. And as I said, like, it's just something that you have to accept, that if you're not going to stick to any sort of consistent theme, then momentum is not necessarily a guarantee. Like, the success that one video gets is not going to necessarily carry over into the next video if they're about completely different topics. And that's something I made peace with. Obviously, I'm still doing this, and views have started to pick up a little more recently, as it turns out. Another example of that whole effort versus reception dichotomy is happening again, because the last two videos I uploaded for Halloween, the first one which was just me talking about like, okay, well here's the spooky things that I like to watch every Halloween to sort of like, as my traditions. That failed to reach 500 views. It's been 2 weeks. But then the video I uploaded just 4 days ago, which I just literally sit down and read off a couple of classic creepypastas, and put almost no editing into the video, that is sitting at 669 views, which is nice. I guess cool. It's nice that something that I didn't put as much effort into is getting that kind of reception. But again, like, it kind of sucks knowing that there is, like, very little correlation sometimes between the effort you put in and the reception the video gets. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop putting effort in. Ultimately, I want to make better videos. I want to put that effort in because I want to make something nice for you. When I first sat down and started recording again, I wrote down that some of my biggest influences, the number one biggest influence though, is Super Eye Patch Wolf. Because his content is exactly the kind of content I would love to make one day. And that's why I sort of ripped off his My Favorite Things content last year. And I'm planning to do that again at the end of this year and just make a video about things from 2024 that I love. But what I ultimately love about Eye Patch Wolf's videos is the fact that he can sit down and just talk to you about literally anything. And through delivery, script writing, and editing, make it the most fascinating thing you have ever heard of. Like, I do not care about wrestling. Like, it's never been a thing that I've been interested in. But every video that Super Eye Patch Wolf has made about wrestlers and wrestling and the storytelling of wrestling has been some of the most fascinating things out there for me. And recently, the video he made on video games that do not exist, that is the kind of content I would love to make, because that is fascinating, and that is something that I did not know I wanted a giant video essay about. But the way he brings you these topics, these niche topics, and just weaves the most fascinating stories that make you want to go out and learn more about these things for yourself, that is the kind of content I love, the kind of content I would love to make for people, and the kind of content I wish that there was more of on the platform. And that's the thing, like, I think my channel, because of my very tight 2-week upload schedule, which is tight for me specifically because I don't have a lot of time. Like, most of my free time, I think at this point, goes into this channel, when I'm not spending that time desperately reading One Piece and trying to catch up. Which, hey, if you're here from that One Piece video that I made last year and want to know where I'm at, I am currently at Marineford, in the middle of the rescue attempt on Ace, and man, I am so upset at myself for letting myself sleep on One Piece for as long as I did, because I think it might genuinely be one of my favorite manga that I've ever read. The fact that every few chapters, Oda can drop a page that makes me say, this is the hardest image I have ever seen. Okay, but I'm getting off topic. I think really, though, that's ultimately what I wanted to bring to the discussion, though, is those lessons. Specifically the lessons that the amount of effort you put into a video does not necessarily correlate to the reception that it's going to get, and you have to be able to accept that. But also, anybody can make YouTube videos, and everybody should. Like, the greatest thing about this platform is that it is an open forum, and there is no barrier to entry. Literally anybody can upload a video, and that's incredible. You know, and here's the thing. I do not think that I am making the best content on the platform. I do not think that I am even making the best content I could make. The way I describe my content is 75% assed, because we don't quite half-ass it around here. But I don't, if I put in all of the effort into every video that I wanted to make, I would be dead by now. And that's an important lesson that I got from Jet, and from a video that he showed me from a creator called CJ the X, the 7 Deadly Art Sins. And that video is what actually convinced me to finally sit down and get in front of the camera, or not get in front of the camera, but just sit down and start consistently uploading to this channel. And it's the idea that one of the worst things that you can do for your art is to strive for perfectionism. Because if you do, you are never going to release that product. Sometimes you just have to force yourself to put something out there. And that is why I keep myself on this 2-week upload schedule. Because if every video that I wanted to make was even close to my standards, I would almost never upload anything. And there are channels out there for whom that works. Like H-Bomber Guy shows up maybe once, if you're lucky, a couple of times every year, and just drops some of the most interesting, super thoughtful content you have ever heard of. And that's incredible. But for me, I'm not there yet. And so the strategy that I'm going for is this sort of like shotgun approach, where I am just coming to you every 2 weeks and bringing you something that I find interesting. And one of the biggest consequences of that has been the sort of, I guess, inconsistency in my work. And apparently my cat Sydney also wanted to show up, so say hello to everyone, you little booger monster. If you can hear the sniffling on the camera, that's because she's got allergy problems that we still can't fix. But yes, one thing I want to work on moving into 2025 is that a lot of my uploads on this channel, I sort of get an idea and run with it. And while that does work, it's literally just me, like, I guess just putting what's been on my mind out there into the ether. I want to move into more, like, thoughtful content. Because as I said, ultimately, what I want to make is video essay content, where I am, like, speaking about something that's interesting to me in a way that's interesting to you. So hopefully, moving forward, we'll be able to get more of that kind of content on the channel. But hey, who knows what 2025 will bring. Bless you, Sydney. But I think ultimately, that's probably where I'm gonna call this video for now. Because as I said, like, this, as always, is a pointless video. And for those of you wondering, the name for the channel is basically this idea that, like, I want to be, it's a preemptive shield where I can say that I'm talking at length about something that ultimately doesn't matter, so that if people say, oh, well, you know, you're just yapping and your content's not interesting, and I'm like, hey, you're the one who wasted your time watching a pointless video. So, I guess with all of that said, we're going to call it there for now. If this is interesting to you, thank you. If you're watching this and you're already a subscriber, hey, that means the world to me. People keep saying that subscribers are ultimately a vanity metric, and yeah, I mean, I guess that is true. But I am a very vain person, and I want to see number go up. So please, and hey, while you're here, if you want to watch another one of my videos, let's see, what can I recommend for you today? You know, yeah, no, I'm going to recommend that video I made on spooky media to get you in the Halloween mood, because that is one of the big things I want to do with this channel, is just to share my interests with all of you. And that video is just me vomiting my interests for 17.5 minutes. So hey, if you like this, go watch that, get those views up. Let's see if we can get it past the 1,000 views mark. And as always, just remember that this has been a powerfully pointless video, but I hope you enjoyed it anyways, and I'll see you in 2025. Or 2024, I guess, because we've still got several months in the year.